This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on Significance of Business 20 India Inception meeting. The participants are Ranjit Mehta, Economic Analyst, and S. Rangabashiam, AIR Correspondent.
Dr. Mehta, a warm welcome to this program where we will be discussing about the B20 India group, that is the Business 20 subgroup under the G20 engagements which will be there throughout the year. As we all know, the presidency of G20 has come to India on the 1st of December, and for the next almost a year from here on, we will have lot of engagements, lot of conferences, seminars and events to mark the presidency and also to take forward the agenda of G20. And in that, starting today, for the next 2 days, we have the Inception meeting of the Business 20. Dr. Mehta, from you to begin with, I want to know that will B20 or Business 20 will become the real voice of the G20 business community from here on?
Definitely, this is a very, very powerful Business 20 group under the G20 presidency of India. Since these G20 members, they represent around 85% of the global GDP and over 75% of the global trade and around 2/3 of world population. So that makes it very, very powerful. And this year, the theme of India's G20 presidency is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is one earth, one family, one future. So therefore, this is also taken from the Sanskrit word which shows the interconnectedness between different forms of life, human, animal, plant, microorganism. I think that these G20 countries or the B20 group is a very, very powerful Business 20 group in the whole engagement groups of G20. And there will be around 200 meetings and programs in over 50 cities across 32 work streams. So that is the scale of this G20. And all the delegates of G20 will have an opportunity to have a glimpse of India's rich cultural heritage, and it will also provide them with a unique Indian experience. And if you just look at it today, the climate change is one of the topmost priorities, or it is one of the topmost challenges, and climate mitigation is one of the top priorities right now for the world. Especially post COVID-19, we have seen that how the supply chains of the world, they crumbled, and what kind of changes are emerging in the world due to the global warming. I think in this, climate change is a key priority for India's presidency, with a particular focus towards not only climate finance and technology, but also ensuring energy transition for developing nations across the world.
Right.
And also our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, had launched a mission called LIFE, that is Lifestyle for Environment, which is a behavioral-based movement that draws from our nation's rich, ancient, sustainable traditions to nudge the people and to adopt environmentally conscious practices. So therefore, climate mitigation will remain, definitely climate finance will remain priority. And also, I think that second is accelerated and inclusive growth, and which should be led by the MSMEs. We all know that MSMEs are the growth engines, not only in India, but all over the world. Wherever, even in a developed economy, it is the MSMEs who drive the growth. And in India, we have more than around 65 million MSMEs, and who are contributing right now around 18% of the GDP, but the government wants to take it to around 25 to 30% in next 2-3 years. I think the integration of MSME in global trade is the focus of government right now, and also to address the global skill gap, build inclusive food system extra. So these are very important for the accelerated growth. And third, I think part is multilateral institutions. They need to be prepared for the 21st century. We are having absolutely new challenges in our 21st century. Therefore, we need very, very robust multilateral organizations. I think the fourth thing, even in our India G20, will be the women-led development. So India hopes to use the G20 forum to highlight inclusive growth and development with women empowerment and representation being at the core of these deliberations, representation of women. So this includes a focus on bringing women to the fore and in leading positions in order to boost the social, economic development and also achievement of SDGs.
Dr. Mehta, you made a mention of multilateral institutions and agencies. Obviously, you are referring to the Bretton Woods twins of World Bank and International Monetary Fund. Apart from that, we have the regional ones as well, like Asian Development Bank. We have the BRICS Bank now and all these institutions. But do you mean to say, or are you indicating that, the main multilateral institutions, when we call them the World Bank and the IMF, have they, somewhere in the last couple of decades lost their relevance, and now we need to either reimagine them or come up with new multilateral organizations?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we have seen that even during the COVID-19, these organizations have failed to achieve the objective. And the way we are facing the challenges, and if you see the geopolitical situation, even the Russia-Ukraine war and other geopolitics all over the world, I think that we need organizations which can handle the challenges of the 21st century, and we will have to reimagine and transform these existing organizations who can match with the expectations, aspirations of
the 21st century.
Definitely.
Let's also talk about the issues at hand. I'm sure you'll agree that in the past few years, especially after COVID-19 pandemic, this has significantly transformed the global economic landscape. The world still continues to face several complex challenges. Just to name a few, like rising energy costs or commodity prices and even others. Do you think after the B20's deliberations, they will be able to come up with concrete, actionable policy recommendations for the entire G20 countries?
Definitely, that will be the main agenda of this B20 meetings. Ultimately, the idea is to come out with solutions and roadmap where all these G20 countries agree on point. And as I told you, these 3-4 focus areas like climate financing and technology for all, where to have our infrastructure, where even last person in the queue is also getting the advantage of the technology, and women empowerment, and creating supply chains which are robust. And the way we have seen during COVID-19 how the supply chains really crumbled and the whole world was standstill. So therefore, if we face such challenges in future, there'll be discussions on this, how the business 20 group is going to handle these challenges and how they are going to prepare themselves where the MSMEs can be integrated in a global supply chain which will catapult the growth to the next level. Ultimately, it is the MSMEs who will give the inclusive growth, and how we can get more women in leading positions. That will be the core of the meeting. Right now.
Dr. Mehta, under the banner of Business 20, we have 7 task forces and 2 action councils. Let me begin with the 2 action councils. One is the Environment, Social and Governance Standards in Business Operations, and the other is African Economic Integration. To talk about the first one, can we expect the Environment, Social and Governance Standards of Business Operations to come up with really concrete, actionable recommendations so that in the next 5 to 10 years, we can somewhat see real standards of business operations in all these G20 countries?
You're right, Mr. Rangabashiam. So this is a very, very critical and very significant and important area where the standards for governance and also how we can have a sustainable development, sustainable growth, in fact, and transition towards the green energy. If we have to limit the carbon footprint, also global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius, the businesses will have to go green and will have to bring the transition in their energy consumption from fossil fuels to green energy. And in that journey, it is the responsibility of the developed nations to finance the energy needs of the developing countries such as India. India and other developing countries, because the environment is for everyone, because we have only one world and one earth and one future. We all share the same earth. Therefore, if the developed nations who have actually created more carbon footprints in the world, if they do not finance to the developing and emerging economies, then that will not be just. So therefore, definitely one of the discussions of G20, and G20 is a very powerful group. Business 20 is a very powerful group under this G20. And I'm hoping that there'll be consensus on developed nations to fund the emerging economies of the world so that they can do the energy transition in a sustainable manner.
Dr. Mehta, the other Action Council is focusing on African economic integration. So, do you think now the world is increasingly, sitting up and taking notice that Africa has a lot of potential from the business point of view, and we need to harness it now and kind of integrate it with the entire world?
Definitely, that has been focused. Even India has so much of work in South Africa, and South Africa and African countries have been focus of the world. And now this is the time to integrate Africa into mainstream. Now this is a time to bring Africa into the league of other countries. This is a time to help them and get them here. And for this, we have seen that that is one of the very important agenda for Business 20.
Dr. Mehta, the Inception meeting has started today. From 22nd to 24th, it will go on for the next 2 days. Let's see how things pan out and what all recommendations come out of the Inception meeting of Business 20 Group under the G20 banner. Let's also talk about the startup ecosystem, and India, especially in the past couple of years, have given emphatic thrust to this particular segment of startups and small businesses. I believe there is an engagement group on startup ecosystem as well.
Yes. Now, in India's G20 presidency, a new engagement group called Startup 20 has been started by India, and it has a potential to revolutionize the G20 and drive global progress through innovation, collaboration, entrepreneurship, and inclusivity. Now, today India is world's third largest startup ecosystem. And in last around 6-7 years, India has created around 106 unicorns in our country. And we have got more than 83,000 startups today, and millions of young entrepreneurs are coming here. And Startup India was launched by Prime Minister Modi in 2016. And this year, Startup 20 Engagement Group has been created, and its Inception meeting is taking place in Hyderabad on 28th and 29th of January, and it is going to create a narrative and to create a framework where the startups can really prosper and the challenges faced by the startups can be discussed, and world leading startups will be coming here from all G20 countries, and there will be deliberations so that a roadmap can be created. And this is an opportunity to learn from the most successful startups in the whole ecosystem. So therefore, it's a very important group, engagement group, and we have got a lot of expectations, and we are sure that after this Startup 20 engagement group, we expect there'll be a lot of innovation in our country and all the G20 countries. And this is a great opportunity for all young entrepreneurs, not only in India, but all over the world in G20 countries.
The Inception meeting at Gandhinagar in Gujarat started today, and it will be on for the next 2 days till the 24th of January. Let's see, what kind of recommendations comes up after the deliberations of the Business 20 group. Dr. Ranjit Mehta, thank you so much for joining in this program.
Thank you very much.
You were listening to a discussion on significance of Business 20 India Inception meeting. The participants were Ranjit Mehta, Economic Analyst, and S. Rangabashiam, AIR Correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsttalks@gmail.com.